Bit of a different video again for you this week. We're going to take a look at the Fiddle yard, the nightmare that is cleaning the track, and I'm going to run a few trains for you. So stick around and all will be revealed. So here we are down at the Fiddle yard, and you can see, for those of you who haven't seen it, I'll take you round. And it goes all the way down there and down that way as well. So it's one big loop with loads and loads of sidings, some really long. These sidings down the back here are generally for trains that are double-ended. So either one locomotive in a DVT or like an HST, the EMU, that type of thing. Whereas these sidings here have got an entry and an exit at both ends. So a train could come in, turn round on the loops, yes, turn round, and I'll explain that in a minute, and then come in the other way, if you like. Because if I bring the lift down, right, as we can see now, coming down now. So you might be thinking, well, how is this a reversing loop? Well, not in the traditional sense, but the facilities that are built into the track, it does work as that type of thing. So if you think about it, if a train comes off on the inner loop and then goes round the loop at the end, it could be facing that way when it sets off, and it'll be facing that way when it goes back onto the lift. So you can actually turn a train round and then send it back up the other way. Equally, if a train comes off the inner loop, if you follow it round, it comes all the way down here where the Nova half, as I called it, send it round the loop that way, you can see clearly it will end up the other way on the lift section. So a train could physically come down here, turn round, and then go back up. Now, but what else have I been doing? Well, I've not been doing a massive amount, but this wasn't working. Oh, excuse that wire dangling there. This hasn't been working that well in terms of the track has been filthy. So there's been a lot of track cleaning going on down here. And you can imagine that is probably just a bit of a nightmare, as cleaning the actual layout itself would be. So how do I do it? I use a number of different methods, but this probably for the bulk cleaning is the main one. And I'll show you the other one in a minute, the main one I use anyway. This is a Charge track cleaner, Charge, and it's very similar to the CMX. Now, a lot of British modelers go for the CMX because it's made of brass. Now, that bit there is made of brass. That bit is plastic, granted, but it is quite heavy. For an N-gauge wagon, it is quite heavy. But also, if I put that on the track over there, hopefully, even though it's not railed properly, it's off the rails, but you can see clearly if I put that there, that is a similar height to the tankers. If I try and get it on the track, it might help, mightn't it? No, we're off at this end. There we go. So you can see it's a similar height. So it won't look out of place behind a locomotive. Okay. So that's one of the main reasons, but this is also available in 00 and O, I think. I'll leave a link to the website if you choose to get one. They're very much cheaper than the CMX. I think this was about £70–80. Maybe gone up a tad more. I don't know. Brexit may have kicked in. Coronavirus may have kicked in. I just don't know. So if you want one, they come in different colours, and the idea, if I take you over, you fill it with isopropyl alcohol, and at the end here, and I'm not going to do this, but you've got a plug or a bolt which you take out and you fill in there with alcohol, and you think, well, how am I supposed to get it into a tiny little hole like that? that's when this comes in. Yes, I know it looks quite scary, and no, I'm not doing anything I ought to be. This comes with that. I have to stress that. It takes 10 millilitres of isopropyl alcohol, and you need this big blunt needle on the end. You can see it's not a point. All right, that goes into there and into this section here, and you literally just pour the IPA in there. Obviously, to get it out, just in case you weren't sure, you put it into the liquid and suck up, and then it sucks up the liquid. All right, and then you just push it back in. Then you've got on the top, you've got a regulator, so that, or a stop plug, that stops the IPA from literally just pouring out. So you undo that a little bit. Now, if I show you there, my one is set to that angle, and I only normally do it to that angle. So I only undo it about 60 degrees. It still won't come out until you've got an airflow through here. So obviously you put that bolt back in, but you'll notice there is a hole on the top. So you do it so there is an amount of air that can get back in. Otherwise, it's trying to create a vacuum. If you remember your secondary school science, the IPA won't come out until it can be replaced with air. So you leave that fairly well out, and then you adjust that and look down there until you see a drip, and hopefully it should be a very slow drip to come out. Okay, that then soaks the pad underneath, and then it's the wet pad that goes around your track to clean it. Okay, that's the general idea. All right, so it does work, and if you find your pad is either too far away, it won't do anything, obviously. You can adjust it. You'll notice there are two bolts there. There's one there, you might just be able to make them out. One there and another one just there. And when you take the pad off, you'll see the bolt heads. The bogies are also adjustable. So my advice is, when you get it, try not to touch the setup too much. But if the pad is too low, it will stumble on your track, or if you've got peaks, it will stall. The pad sometimes gets stuck on peaks, or if you've got a bit of portion of track which isn't quite level, it can, I wouldn't say tear the pad, but it can jam, and you might find that your locomotive either pulls the couplings off, or on the locomotive, that is. So you just have to stop and put them back on. You know, if it's not set up correctly, it won't run properly. So try not to touch it too much. George will set it up for you. So there's that. That's one of the main things that I do. And the other thing, now before I show you this, is a massive for and against. I know. And to be honest with you, it works for me, and that's all that matters. Some people say that it scratches the surface of the track and does long-term damage to the track. It's up to you. I know modelers who have had their track for many, many, many years and have used one of these all the time, and their track is still running many, many years afterwards. Now, the argument would be that it puts tiny little abrasions in the surface of the track, which then harbours an amount of muck and encourages more muck. You've got to work it out for yourself. To be honest, it's entirely up to you. I've used a track rubber for a long time. I don't press massively hard, but at the end of each session, if you like, of using one of those, I will then vacuum the track, because what happens is, and I will tell you, this is a slight downside. This, as you can see, the shiny bits, that is metal. Yeah, tiny fragments of metal. Now that will start to degrade after a period of time, and you will find that it lands in the bed of the track. That's why it's important to vacuum the track, because there is a possibility, small that might be, that a locomotive might suck it up, or it might get caught in the locomotive, and the last thing you want it to do is get caught up in the gearing, because that will cause your locomotive problems and running problems, and it could cause, I think, possibly lead to split gears. I don't know. So if you do use one of these, you just got to be sensible, really. They do work, despite what some people think. You've got to decide for yourself. So I don't want any comments about what I'm supposedly doing to my track. It's my track. So any comments that I don't like, I will just remove them. Okay. All right, next thing I use for track cleaning is one of these. And you might recognise that bit, which you can buy from eBay. Now, I have found that if you use a glasses cloth, a cloth for cleaning glasses, just cut it into strips or even fold it up and then just bolt it in there. Now, what I decided to do, and I'll show you my other version of this in a minute, is to put 2 crocodile clips either end, and that works a lot better. This particular one was a first generation one, which has got a nail. You probably can't see it because it's hooked on there, but there is a nail sticking out in there. And the idea is you clip your cloth over it and then put it round, and then you bolt it on with that. I've bent this over because it was catching my bridges. So that's the reason for that. But again, soak that in your favourite liquid, IPA. Some people are advocating the use of white spirit. That does work. So it's entirely up to you what you choose. But I use this to get into there, because when that roof goes back on, it's going to be near impossible to clean the track. The roof is completely removable, but it is, I'll be honest, a little bit of a faff. So to have something that will slide right inside there works for me. Now, I'll show you the other version of this that I use on the 00 gauge layout, but equally suitable for this. Right, this is the one I use for the 00 gauge layout, and equally you could use this for an N gauge. It wouldn't make any difference. What you've got is a piece sticking up there, and there's a wooden spike there. Now, that wooden spike didn't last very long, so it was just as easy to get a small crocodile clip and literally just clip the fabric back on the side. I can't do this one-handed now, can I? But anyway, you can see that's just a glasses cloth. They are quite tough, and if you wear glasses, they're readily available from your local optician. I'm sure they'll just let you have a couple, 2 or 3, whatever, and then just wash them every now and again. You know, it works well for me. Now, the other thing as well that somebody recommended, and there are a load of channels recommended this. I put that on this layout because I've got nothing on there that uses traction tyres. Apparently this does damage traction tyres, whereas I have got traction tyres upstairs, so I didn't want to use it up there. It kind of worked, but I found it made the track quite slippy, and Rocket was slipping and sliding all over the place. So when I put the new carriages on, it just didn't have enough traction to pull it. So I ended up wiping off the inox, and then it ran a lot better. Well, there we go. You just see the test train just come out from the Fiddle yard, up the lift and straight onto the layout. And apart from a little bit of a hiccup down below, it didn't falter up here at all. It's just running absolutely beautifully. And you can see the 156 there doing just exactly as it should do. So I'm really, really pleased about that. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been a very different type of video, probably more maintenance and news really, isn't it? So anyway, I hopefully will be starting the back scene in the next couple of weeks. We'll see how it goes. I've got a double O gauge video at some point, so take care of yourself. I will see you again soon. 2 videos will be appearing on your screen, so please do take a look at those to the very end, and I'll catch you again very, very soon here on Piccadilly. Bye for now.